Hey everybody, stream working at the moment. Haven't streamed in quite a while, so not entirely sure if it is working. Let's hope it is. Hey everybody. I think it is working. How's everybody doing? Hope you're all doing well. Happy Halloween if you guys are watching Halloween movies, whatever you're doing tonight. I hope you're having a good night, good day. God knows what time of the day it is in some places who are watching. I haven't streamed in a long time. I used to stream quite a while back, GTA and different stuff, but I haven't streamed in quite a while. As far as I can remember, I can't even remember the last time I streamed, to be perfectly honest with you. But today I wanted to chat about Terminator Dark Fate, which I've started to cover quite a lot in my channel, and I wanted to talk about some upcoming videos. I've got some Halloween themed video coming up as well. That's GTA related. So if you got any questions about Terminator Dark Fate or anything else, put it in the comment section, and I will try to answer it as best I can. Hey there, Venom, how you doing? Glad you can join me. There's a new kind of stream setup, and I don't think I have a proper thumbnail on my video. I'm not sure how I can add that though. Let's see, okay, I figured it out now. But yeah, in terms of Terminator Dark Fate, I put up my review. I put up another video talking about the Kyle Reese thing, where they've Tim Miller, the director, is now saying that Kyle Reese doesn't exist anymore in this new Terminator Dark Fate timeline, which really pissed me off. If you've watched my latest video, have you guys seen Terminator Dark Fate? Are you interested in it? It's only coming out in America, I think today or tomorrow or something like that. Is that right? It came out in UK and Ireland last week, I think. But yeah, it's dividing people. I mean, critics seem to be a lot more receptive to it than other people. The general public is quite mixed as well. I would say mixed to negative, but it's hard to really tell. It's hard to really tell in the movie until you can kind of, I mean, online opinions are fluctuate, and how can you really figure what the mass public think of it until maybe a few months, a year later? I get the impression at the moment that audiences are a little bit more negative than critics. They're probably not as negative as I am, but they are definitely not. It's not the resounding success that Tim Miller and Cameron would have wanted. I think that's fair to say anyway. Sorry guys, I'm trying to figure out this stream thing. I'm trying to update the thumbnail because it's not really working. Yeah, in terms of if you're into my GTA videos, I plan to have a Horrorland movie out today. It's a series I've done on my channel going a couple of years back, but it's fallen behind schedule. It'll probably be out maybe tomorrow or by the weekend. Horrorland is like it's a GTA film series I created where you've got these GTA characters and characters from horror games such as Resident Evil, or even horror TV shows and movies like Walking Dead, and they're kind of being chased around this little town by all these horror kind of monsters like Michael Myers and Leatherface and Freddy Krueger, The new one I have, I'm not sure I can actually show you pictures at the moment. I don't think I have them set up, but you're gonna have characters in it like who do I have? Michael Myers is back in it. I've got Alien from Alien. Sorry, not Alien from Alien. The Xenomorph, isn't that what you call him? He's in it, or she's in it. I forget. It's been a while since I've seen Alien. You've got, what the hell else do I have in it? I've got a character from Outlast in it, that horror game. Who else do I have in it? I'm getting a blank here at the moment. Venom's wondering, what do you want to be for Halloween today? Didn't really have a costume other than I pulled out my old Sting masked wrestler. That's about the height of my costume this year. How about you, Venom? Are you dressing up as Eddie Brock or Venom himself? So if you've got any questions about Terminator Dark Fate or about the channel, please put it in the comment section and let me know what you guys are thinking. Will you be going to see Terminator Dark Fate? Have you seen it already? What did you think? I mean, my impression was, I'll not get into spoilers unless people want to, but the first few minutes of the movie just killed any of the excitement and interest that I had for the movie, if I had any at all, which was kind of diminishing the more I seen about the movie or heard from the director Tim Miller. I mean, you gotta look at movies that a franchise like Terminator, with all the kind of poorly received sequels like Rise of the Machines, Salvation, Genesis. You know, I think they've ran out of whatever, how many lives they had. I don't think they've had 9. I don't think they're going to get 9 lives. This Dark Fate really had to be a success. It had to really win over people and be I think the first movie I thought of when I was thinking of how good it needed to be, I thought it needed to be as good or if not better than Mad Max, or that type of movie that just shocked people and excited people and had people coming back to it multiple times and was a critical and audience hit. Terminator Dark Fate, I don't think it's going to be either of those things. I don't think it's going to be it's not necessarily an audience hit. I mean, it's what's it got on Rotten Tomatoes at the moment? It's in the mid-60s or something like that. 69. Well, it actually went up quite a bit from the last time I seen it. The audience reaction, I don't think they'll have that yet because it's not really released in America yet. No. I mean, 69 isn't that bad. Like, you compare it to Rise of the Machines. What was Rise of the Machines? I think Genesis was around 20 something, as far as I remember. Yeah, Terminator Genesis had 27 and a 53 audience score, which is pretty poor. Usually the audience are a little bit more forgiving, or maybe forgiving is not the right word. Audiences, there's such a wide range of audience members going to see the movie that you're going to find at least some portion of the audience are going to warm to the movie and be excited about it. Genesis has a very small gathering of people that like it. I think it's fair to say. You know, in terms of what Dark Fate is, Dark Fate will probably be happy enough with the 69. With critics score, I don't know if the audiences are going to be as high. But I mean, Rotten Tomatoes is a bit of a strange thing to try and gauge. Is it a proper gauge of what a movie is really doing? I don't really know. I mean, Joker started off with really, really high scores with critics, and then it dropped to a 69, which is where Dark Fate is now. It's at 89 audience score. So Joker is split the critics a little bit more than I thought. I thought it was kind of a given that Joker would be a resounding mid-80s to 90 reviewed movie, just based on some of the reviews that came out early. You know, but clearly people found Joker to be a little bit more divisive than I thought it was definitely more divisive than I thought it would be. I thought it'd be a resounding success. It's a resounding success at the box office, but not so much with fans, or sorry, with critics. Fans seem to dig it. Joker's online. It's just, you know, if people are seeing it multiple times, that obviously means it's working to some extent, or to a large extent. I enjoyed Joker. I wasn't in a mad rush to see it again, just because it's quite a dark movie. It's quite a what's the best way to describe it? It's quite a not that, well, I never expected it to be upbeat, but it's not an easy watch in some parts of it. It's very hard to watch at times. It's got a lot of really dark subject matter in it. I mean, Dark Fate, in terms of the R rating that it got, I'm not entirely sure it warranted it, really. I was looking at Terminator 3 there recently, and Terminator 3 is I think it's a lot more violent than Dark Fate was, or at least I think Terminator 3 had more rights to that R rating. I don't think it got one. It may have got one in America than Dark Fate deserved anyway. And you know, the R rating was probably the least divisive thing about the movie. People, I think the past few sequels, you know, Salvation and Genesis, didn't get an R rating. They were PG-13, and people pointed to that as the reason that those movies were a failure, and it's probably a part of it. You know, the watering down the franchise to, you know, to get in more people. But I think in terms of Dark Fate, there's a lot more problematic about it than the R rating, or the lack of an R rating. It didn't get an 18s over here in Ireland. I'll be honest with you, I found the movie, you know, once that first few minutes, I won't spoil it, happened, that scene at the start of Dark Fate, the kind of just, it kind of ruined the whole movie afterwards. It didn't matter if the movie was like some sort of 5-star classic afterwards. I'm not entirely sure I would have went with it, but the movie definitely wasn't by any stretch of imagination a 5-star movie. You know, no matter what you thought of that first opening couple of minutes, that opening scene of Terminator Dark Fate, which most people probably know about it now anyway, but I'll not spoil it. It just kind of, it seems like a slap in the face to the fans. It seems like something that I don't understand. I don't know what they really expected the reaction to be. You know, the general public probably, if you're not that diehard into Terminator, you probably would look at that scene and you wouldn't be exactly, it wouldn't mean that much to you. But it's like, if any franchise, if you remove a character, or you kind of take away something from a franchise that people really liked for no real good reason, and sort of done more to kind of shock people rather than anything that meaningful in the plot, I just don't see how they thought it was a good idea. But a lot of people clearly thought it was a good idea. There was a lot of script writers, and they all clearly agreed it. And I wonder, was there any trepidation in going that direction? I doubt it. Hey there, Oliver. Hey there from UK. Have you seen Dark Fate yet? I enjoyed it for what it's worth. It's showing, yes, but it shows what... It's showing, yes, but it shows what the ultimate cost would be like. Yeah, I did see it, Oliver. My review is quite critical. I'll give you a link to my review if you haven't seen it yet. I was disappointed by the opening scene and what they did with that character. I don't want to spoil it too much. I was disappointed by the last third of the movie, which I thought kind of turned into a bit of a CGI circus. The lack of irony. Irony didn't come into it till like an hour into the movie. For me, it was a disappointment. I've seen you in my videos recently, and you've kind of been, you've heard my quite a negative. I've been having quite a negative response to a lot of the trailers and some of the plot points that have been leaked and stuff. So that is no surprise that I wasn't that happy with a lot of what happened in Dark Fate. In terms of where I would rate it in the, that's Terminator 6, isn't it? My ratings would be, let's put it in the comment section so I can visualize it. T2 would be my first, then it would be T1, then I would say T3, then Salvation. Would it be Salvation next? Yeah, I'd say Salvation, then Genesis, and then I put Dark Fate at the end. I mean, the Genesis Dark Fate discussion is kind of it's a difficult one to do, like which is better or worse. Some people would put Dark Fate way ahead of T3 or Salvation. Personally, I seen Genesis, and I was quite annoyed by a lot of the decisions they made with Genesis, like in terms of the casting of the movie. They got the casting all wrong with Emilia Clarke and Jai Courtney. I thought they made a mess of that, which, recasting those people was always going to be very tough. But I think in Genesis they... What can you say? That they not only did they cast wrong, the script was all wrong as well. You can't only blame the actors in Genesis. The script, even if you had Michael Biehn in there being Kyle Reese in Terminator Genesis, I don't think it would necessarily have it wouldn't have fit his character at all. Now surely it would have made it better, but I mean, Michael Biehn was never cracking jokes. Yet Jai Courtney was... Jai Courtney didn't look like somebody that came from the future war. Jai Courtney looked like somebody that came out of some Marvel movie. Just sort of... He just didn't seem battle-torn or messed up or of any sort whatsoever. Hey there, Diablo. So yeah, Genesis for me, Genesis was poor in so many areas. But looking back at Genesis and I haven't seen Dark Fate more than once. But I found Genesis at least entertaining. It was stupid and dumb, but I kind of look at it as like a sort of like a sideshow kind of fan fiction, sort of crazy dream style kind of Terminator movie, sort of like a wacky comic book kind of wacky comic book style thing, where I didn't really take it that seriously. The more I watched it, I just kind of enjoyed it. I thought Arnold was given a pretty lead role in Terminator Genesis. And as a big fan of Arnold, that was a strong point for Genesis, something that Dark Fate didn't deliver on. Dark Fate didn't bring Arnold into sort of like an hour in, which was quite disappointing. I have an idea, and I have reached out to James Cameron to a story idea. Would you like if they created or found a time displacement device to go back into that moment to bring John back? Personally, for me, Oliver, you can give me your reaction to this, if I can explain it well enough. But I think the best thing to do with with the Terminator franchise now is to leave it a few years, and because I don't think that the Dark Fate trilogy will go ahead, because I just don't think the audience will take to it, and I don't think it will make back the money it needs to take back. I think most people would say that, we said before this Dark Fate came out, if this failed, that there was no real point in making another Terminator movie, because they've tried it 3 times now to update and start a new trilogy. Salvation was going to have a trilogy, it didn't happen. Genesis was going to have one. Dark Fate wanted to have one. I personally think that what they should do is kind of do what Dark Fate did, but ignore Dark Fate, and the new movie should be a future war movie about John Connor, sort of like Salvation, but a movie that maybe mixes between times. You could have a current day sequence or current day plot thread where we have another maybe member of the Resistance that needs to be saved, back in the Terminator, back in the modern day timeline, and then we would flash in back and forth way more often, not just a couple of future war scenes, but properly going back and forth, and showing John Connor in the future war fighting with the Resistance, have lots of violence. I think there's definitely ways to bring Arnold back again. There's probably ways to use Linda Hamilton, but you got to have John Connor. I mean, the people, by and large, people aren't receiving and being receptive to John Connor not being in the franchise going forward. Hey there, James. How are you doing today? So for me, they've got to just ignore all these complicated plot threads and just do what Salvation did, but do it a lot better. Because Salvation was a movie that had so many good things going for it, but it just was a bit bland and a bit dreary and a bit sort of a bit depressing, but not in a good way, not in a sort of entertaining sort of effective way. I think Salvation was just a bit boring. It wasn't necessarily bad, it was just boring, and I think boring's the worst thing you can throw against a movie like a Terminator franchise. They got to get back to basics. They got to do it for a small budget. I don't know what the budget for those Purge movies are, but I think they're around 10 or 12 million. I don't think that it's possible to make a Terminator movie for 15, 20 million, but they've got to push for it to do it for between 80 and maybe 90 million. Just cut everything down, do it as practical as you can. There's lots of TV shows, movies, short films, people on YouTube who do CGI that's nearly as impressive on their laptops, in their rooms, that's as impressive as some of the stuff you've seen in Dark Fate or in Genesis. These are people, with no budget at all, making movies on their laptop, and that's what they got to do. They got to cut the budget way down, make it a gritty, dark future war movie, maybe for that sort of budget, you're not going to have massive, massive amounts of really complicated CGI or I'm not very good with all the models of the flying Skynet. People can probably tell me this, the flying Skynet models and stuff. But if you look back at T1, that wasn't a massive budget movie. It did stuff with little models and miniatures. They gotta get back to similar style of that. They should be given 80 million. If they can't do it with 80 million, they gotta find another way of doing it. And that's what people do when they're making short films and small budget movies. They work with what they got, and if they can't do something one way, they find another way to do it. Unfortunately, the last few Terminator movies have just the budget keeps getting bigger and the interest is getting lower. So if they're gonna make another one, they've got to push the budget way down and get back to basics. Yeah, I can see that. I guess actually in a set in a future war with Edward Furlong as Edward, as an adult John Connor. Plus have Arnold's human counterpart in future war with Linda. I think Edward Furlong, you're probably not going to get Edward Furlong back. I'm not saying I don't think it's ever possible, but it is a point that, it is a point to say that in all movies you got to get into a fitness regime. Arnold does it, Linda does it. That should be the question put to Edward Furlong. Can he get into some sort of fitness that would make his that would make him believable as a future resistance fighter? If he can do that, cool. But I don't think having to cast the same people that were in it in the original movies is a deal breaker. If they can, of course, you want to have Arnold back, you want to have Linda, you want to have Edward, but if they can't, at least get the characters right, and that will make up for it somewhat. James, other people have said it, but horror is what's missing. T2 diminished it, but made up for it with great action and character development. That's completely right. I mean, is it possible to do a future war horror movie with, resistance members crawling through dilapidated parts of the world with these scary Terminators chasing them and hunting them? For, like, as I say, it's low budget. Keep the budget way lower than the past few movies had, and make it a horror movie, make it violent, have some, maybe one or two cool action scenes, but Terminator Dark Fate turned into almost like a Fast and Furious movie. There was no stop for character development. There was no moments of calmness. It was just a flat out action movie the whole way through, which isn't really Terminator. Tim Miller, said, and from the very start said, that he was a massive Terminator fanboy, that the Terminator was so important to him. If you watch that James Cameron Tim Miller interview that was released a year and a half ago or something like that, he talked a good talk, but I don't actually think that he understands Terminator as much as he said he did, because judging from what I've seen with Dark Fate, he doesn't anyway. Hey there, Michael. Dark Fate was supposed to be the true T3, but in fact the crap's all over the previous two films in regards to story, makes them irrelevant. The story itself ended perfectly at the end of T2. I can't disagree with much of that. I mean, of course, the movie, the end of T2, though, it did end it in such a way that you didn't need more sequels. I think if you accept that, if they're going to make another movie and you accept that, okay, we're going to continue the storyline, the least you can do is not disrespect what came before. And I feel Genesis and Dark Fate definitely disrespected T1 and T2, and the characters that were in that movie. Edward Furlong is in a lot better shape now than he has been in for a long time. So it's not off the table, but of course time would tell. Did he say he would love to come back? I'm sure Edward Furlong would love to come back, but I think it's just a case of any movie. It's not a case of being sort of disrespectful, but he would need to get into a shape that would make it believable. But even in T2, they did have a different actor as the older John Connor. So I don't think it's that out of the question to recast John Connor. Had they recasted John Connor and given him a substantial role in Dark Fate, and I think people would have been happy. They might have been a little bit pissed off that they didn't get Edward Furlong, but in the long run, I think had they done the character of John Connor well, they would have been okay with it. But the John Connor character is so important. People that are trying to big up Dark Fate are trying to dismiss the character of John Connor, but I don't think any true fan could dismiss the importance of John Connor or what he means to the Terminator franchise, in my opinion anyway. Kyle Reese, Tim Miller is now trying to say that Kyle Reese isn't an important part of the franchise anymore, which I just think's nonsense, to be honest with you. Have people heard the comments about Kyle Reese from Tim Miller? What do you guys think about that? They're trying to say that Kyle Reese doesn't exist anymore, that he doesn't have a part to play anymore, that because John Connor's dead and because Skynet stopped, that Kyle Reese no longer exists, which to me is complete nonsense. Carl Urban would make a good older John, I think. I think that would be a perfect fit. I thought that who's the guy that I thought Nick Stahl did a pretty good job. Nick Stahl's character was probably the problem with Nick Stahl's character is that he felt like an older version of the Edward Furlong character, which sort of meant he was still kind of childish and still was nowhere near to taking up the mantle of John Connor. But that was really a script, not necessarily Nick Stahl's fault. Tim Miller doesn't exist anymore as far as Tim Miller. I think Tim Miller talks a good game. Tim Miller pretty much crapped on Genesis, Salvation, T3. And he said that his movie would be the real. That his movie would be the real Terminator sequel to T2. I think it's safe to say that he, as I said back then, that he should have let his movie do the talking, and his movie unfortunately did not do the talking for him. But it's hard to say. It's releasing in America. Can it become a big hit there? I don't think so. I don't think it's going to. From what I see online, it's quite a lot of negativity. It's either negativity or indifference, and sort of people are either just not interested in more Terminator, or they're actively pissed off with what Dark Fate has done with the Terminator franchise, and what as I said with Genesis done a lot of crazy shit, but at least Genesis was entertaining and kind of was all over the shop and just was kind of a bit zany. I kind of look back on Genesis as sort of an entertaining movie as if you just kind of turn your brain off, whereas Dark Fate seriously wanted to be exciting, or wanted to be serious and important, and the real T3, which is, saying it's the real T3 is quite disrespectful to Jonathan Moscow, Stan Winston, who was still a part of T3 at that time, making all the models and the the practical effects. It's quite disrespectful to Nick Stahl and all those people and Christina Loken. It's to me that was the first misstep, one of the first and not the only missteps of the setting up of Dark Fate before it was released. He crapped on them while taking ideas from them. Dark Fate had some strong Genesis vibes. I mean, if you rewatch Dark Fate, that last third of the movie looks like I know it's a completely different type of building, but it does look like the same sort of fight sequence that happened at the end of Genesis in Dark Fate. It kind of looks like the same sort of building as well. Not entirely, but it has the same vibe. Oliver says, in a way, Terminator always could continue because of Arnold's T-100's lost arm from the mill at the end of T2. That's true. To Tim Miller's agreement regarding Kyle Reese not existing is BS, in my opinion. I think most people think that Tim Miller is digging himself even further than his movie already has dug him. It was very weak writing. Sarah was supposed to be the Terminator hunter, but why were Terminators kept being sent back? Mission was completed since John was already dead. Terrible writing. Yeah, a lot of it didn't make sense. It's hard to know what to say about it because they talked such a good game, Cameron and Miller, but it feels like they just made another Terminator. They failed. They succeeded in getting a better cast than, say, Genesis got, but they failed in completely different areas and some of the same areas that Genesis did. So it seems like a tough franchise to get right. But I think there's a lot of clear and obvious things that they could be doing different that they seemingly won't do, and I think the practical effects and and lowering down the amount of CGI and green screen they use, blue screen, whatever the hell it is, that's a major thing. That's a director's decision, not using so much blue screen, not using so much CGI. That's something that a director at the start of production or way before it has to clarify and ensure that is the direction that this movie will go. I mean, Alan Taylor Johnson clearly didn't go that route. Tim Miller didn't. McG sort of, McG's movie, I think that Salvation is a weird movie because I think Salvation had that script went ahead. Visually, it was quite impressive. Just had they influenced more, a little bit more heart into it, maybe casted a little bit better in places. Christian Bale, it's hard to ever say Christian Bale was a bad fit for a movie because he's such a good actor. I think maybe Christian Bale's character, I think the John Connor character he was written in Salvation was quite a dull John Connor. There's no doubt that John Connor wouldn't really, is never going to be the, I don't know what age was John Connor in T2, whatever age he was, he's never going to be that sort of wisecracking little shit that he was in that movie. But definitely John Connor in the future, you still feel he would have to have some of that attitude and sort of smart-ass type of kind of humor to him, even amongst all the Judgment Day, future war, death and everything. You feel in moments we want to see more of that. I think you can definitely bring Arnold back into a future war movie if they do one. They sort of tried it in Salvation, but it was kind of a CGI mess. Michael says also, if Legion was the new AI system, why were Terminators still T-800s? and were there still hunter killers? Wouldn't it be totally different? New tech, since it's supposed to be many years after T2. I got the impression that the T-800s, as in Carl, was from the Skynet future that he was sent back. So I'm not really sure if Legion had T-800s. You know, I was quite confused by a lot of what was going on because they didn't really explain a lot of it. You know, they explained the Danny Ramos character in a really rushed kind of 2 or 3 minute scene, and we were then supposed to be really receptive and excited about her character going forward, which just, you know, I don't think people are going to want to see that future or see that plot line go forward, because people have accepted that John Connor is the guy that's going to save the world. You know, had they given us a better character with Danny Ramos, maybe it would have been an easier sell, but her character's quite sort of one note and kind of uninteresting. You know, Arnold's role in Dark Fate is quite small, but at least he sparks a little bit of nostalgia and sort of humor and, you know, excitement into the movie, which, you know, Linda Hamilton does as well, but you feel her characters even feels a little bit kind of a little bit tepid, a little bit sort of not as strong or as powerful as you would expect Linda Hamilton to be, but she's never really given enough time to really shine or really get across any of the good ideas they had for her, and they had some, but it's tough. It's you know, I was hoping that they'd get it right in this movie. I was hoping that they would you know, spark some interest and get the fans back on side, but I think they've divided fans even worse than before, and that's quite a tall order to piss fans off even more than Genesis, but I think they've done that. And you know, how is that possible? Like, why, you know, how could they not have, you know, you shouldn't make a safe movie, because making safe movies and not taking risks is not a good idea, but they had to know that killing off favorite characters like they've done is just a bad idea, and completely unnecessary. Terminator Salvation, in my opinion, is the only one that had something interesting. It's not as bad as people make out. It's got a lot of faults, but at least it's something new. John Connor was 10 in T2. Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, Salvation didn't do anything disrespectful. It didn't do anything. It didn't have any dodgy comedy that Genesis or Rise of the Machines did. I think Rise of the Machines, if you sort of chopped out some of the stupid sort of comedic bits, like the talk to the hand or the sunglasses or the inflating the boobs part, if you took out some of those little short bits, like a really simple edit of the movie, those bits aren't that important to the whole movie or the flow of the script or plot developments. They're just put in there to make people laugh. If you cut out some of that stuff, Terminator 3 I think will look a lot better and may have aged a lot better than it already has. Michael says the film never told us what type of Terminator Sarah was hunting and destroying every time they showed up. Also, normally it takes 2 to 3 people to take on a Terminator. They aren't exactly weak. That's a fair idea. You know, how was she disposing of the Terminators? It's a good question. You know, the only way to dispose T-800s is to melt them or melt them, or well, I don't know, how did Carol die? Yeah, there was a lot of stuff they didn't explain. Um, and you know, when you don't explain stuff like that, it it just fuels the fire even more, and it pisses people off even more, because it just feels like they were rushing it through. And you know, they had so many people writing this movie, so how could there be so many plot holes? It's quite crazy, to be honest with you. Okay guys, I just want to do a quick stream. Probably going to finish up now. If you'd like me to do more, please let me know in some of my future videos. I'm a bit rusty in the streaming side of things. But again, yeah, my Terminator Dark Fate review is up, and you can watch it. You can watch it now if you want, if you haven't watched it already. I'll leave a link there. That's a link to my Terminator Dark Fate review. But thank you for joining the stream, and let me know what you thought of the movie in my review video, and tell me if you agree with any of my points or disagree with them. But thank you guys. Thank you, Michael, Oliver, Venom, and James, and anybody else who joined the stream. But yeah, if you're into my if you're not into my GTA movies, I make GTA films. I've actually made a couple of Terminator GTA films. They're quite dated at the moment. I made them like 2 or 3 years ago. But I've got a new horror movie coming out that will have a T-1000 and a T-800 Arnold in it. So that movie's coming out at the weekend, possibly tomorrow or Saturday or Sunday. So if you're interested in Terminator, look out for my GTA cinematic movie called Horrorland 4, because it's got some Terminator characters in it. I'm not sure if I can show you. Let me see here. I might be able to actually show you a screenshot from the movie and show you some of the Terminator screenshots. Let me see if I can get some of the shots now before you guys leave. I've got other horror characters like the Xenomorphs in it. What else have I got? I've got Michael Myers from Halloween is in it. Let me see now. Can I get the T-1000 is pretty cool. I didn't model the character, but the models are really cool. Really well made. I don't have the name of the guy who modeled it here, but I'll link him in the description of when I release the actual video. Let's see now. Let's see, I might be able to get you a screenshot of it. I don't know if you guys are still here. Yeah, Michael, I think we do all feel the same way here, where, you know, we wanted to. I was quite negative going into the opening of the movie, but that was just me hoping and pleading that they might fix or change things. And you know, they clearly didn't, from what I've seen. You know, it's tough, but it's, you know, that is, you know, they made decisions, and now they're going to have to live with them. You know, they had a chance to win back fans, but I think they've isolated and annoyed fans more than they already had, and you know, that's quite a large feat to do, because fans were so pissed off before, so it's crazy to think that they could piss them off even worse. I'm not sure if I've tried to upload that picture now. I don't know if it's working. It should be working. Any sign of that? I don't think it's up yet. Yeah, there's a screenshot from the movie. Cool, that sounds cool. To your films I have made, a T2 Battlecross time film. It's not brilliant because I don't have the right technology, unfortunately, but my passion is there. I'll subscribe to your channel and check it out. But yeah, there's a screenshot of the T1000 in the movie. Again, I didn't model the character, but that is it's a movie created within GTA 5. I'll show you some other screenshots here. Let me see. We have the other screenshot, if it shows it. We actually have Glenn from Walking Dead shooting the T1000. Yeah, there's a screenshot of that. Let's see, can I show you Arnold? Let me see now if I can find Arnold. Let me see now, 1 second. Yeah, I've got a screenshot of Arnie, which I'll put up now. Give me 1 second. Let me see, where the hell is it? Oh crap, sorry. Yep. Should be a picture of Arnie up there now in a second. So yeah, the story of this is horror characters, good characters from horror TV shows and movies are kind of thrown into this kind of virtual world where there's all these horror icons coming after them, some good, some bad. So the T1000 is chasing after, he's one of the bad guys, but Arnie then comes in to help them out. There should be a picture of Arnie in there soon. The Arnie shot should come in here in a second. Yep, there's a shot of Arnie there. So yeah, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel and watch out for Horrorland 4. You can check out my other Horrorland movies. I don't think I include any Terminator characters before this, but again, I have some other Terminator movies on my channel, which you might find interesting. Cheers, dude. Would be fantastic to hear what you think of my fan film. I'll make it again when I get the right technology. Yeah, I'll check it out maybe later on tonight. I'll leave a comment to let you know what I thought. But again, thank you guys for checking out my stream. Please subscribe. Please comment, like on my videos. I made a Joker movie there recently, so if you like Joker, you may enjoy it. It's doing pretty well. It's getting near to the 10,000 mark. Looks awesome and well made. Thank you. Yeah, I mean it's a pretty fun movie. You got T1000s in there, T800. There's a Xenomorph in there. We got characters from Outlast, Michael Myers from Halloween. You know, I did want to have it out today for Halloween, but just kind of ran behind schedule and didn't want to rush it out. So hopefully have it out by tomorrow night or maybe the weekend. So again, yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for checking out the stream, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys.